Hello my guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I redesign one of my old OCs, Evie, and try and make her into a better character. This was a really fun process, and there's been 2 other videos in this series, so make sure to check those out if you want full context for the universe and all that. Also, so far, 100% of my viewers are subscribed. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, don't be that one person. Just subscribe already. And on with the video. So my first step into redesigning her was just to highlight the problems I have with her. Now, she's one of the characters that's gone through like the biggest changes over time, honestly, because I've gone back and forth about a lot of things with her. So she started out as an adoptable I got like 3-4 years ago. So quite old once again, but she started out as just a cat, and then I turned her into like an anthro cat, and then I turned her into like a human with like, cat ears and stuff, more on the human side than the cat side, till eventually I'm like, I'm going to change this to a human. Now, the first thing I want to do is kind of figure out what I was gonna do with her species then, because it changed as I just described. So figuring that out was one of my main goals. Figuring out her story too, since that's also changed and is heavily reliant on her species. I'll talk about her old backstory in a bit. But, let's just say the two are very connected, so I have to figure that out again. I want to have a better color palette. I mean, it's not that bad. One of my better ones from my younger days of creating characters. But I still want to figure out her colors better, especially since it's like all these bright pinks, but that's nothing related to her personality. They're not a bright, vibrant, peppy character like bright colors would imply, so I want to change that. And also I need to figure out an outfit for her. So my first step was really to decide on her species and backstory, because that would impact everything else. And originally her thing was she and the 2 other characters in her kind of like group, because for most of my characters you can separate them into a few groups. So she's in this group with 2 other characters, which will be the next 2 videos in the series. They were all aliens, and they're kind of stories that they were taking like a trip to Earth to visit. So they were like disguised as humans and stuff. And they had like, tend their family with them, but they crash landed, and only those 3 characters survived. Now, there's already a lot going on in this universe. There is supernatural stuff. There's your classic fantasy races. There's demons and angels. There's a lot going on. And I didn't want to add aliens to that mix. Like, if I sat here and thought about what this universe needed, more was not it. I didn't want to add those in and have to come up with, whole alien lore. So I kind of decided, no, we're not going with aliens. And instead I made her able to, shapeshift between a cat and a human. So she has human form and a cat form. And everyone in her, like, species has different forms they can shift into, but only that form. So she can only transform into a cat. So, and then the next thing was, okay, I gotta come up with a story. So my main goal with the story was to make it work with all the characters in her group, because they've all come from the same like background and all other renditions of the story. So I want to keep that consistent, and it's really important to like how the characters' relationships with each other are and all that. So this time I came up with, there's like a small, kind of little secluded village in the woods, just with a ton of shifters. That's what I'm gonna call them. I'm sure there's a better name for them. I don't know, probably something better than shifter, but that's the only thing I could come up with. So, there's a small little village of shifters, and one day their village gets attacked while Evie and the character in that will be done in the next video are out getting food while that happens. And the third character in that group also survives the attack, but they were still in the village. And so that leads to, kind of the next year or so. I've kind of set out roughly where Evie and the other two characters are pretty much living on their own, trying to make it work. So, this connects to Evie's personality well too. So they're pretty closed off. They just kind of hate everyone and everything. They don't like making friends. They just want to be by themselves. Very lone wolf energy. Maybe I should have made their shifting ability a wolf. But originally it was because, they lost all their family in a plane crash. But this time it's also a more gradual change into being closed off. And so after that, I had a pretty good idea of how exactly I want to make Evie's personality a bit different, because I don't know, all my personalities tended to blend together a lot of the time. Her personality is quite similar to Haley in some way, and I've had plenty of characters that are literally just the same characters. So I want to definitely pinpoint her personality better and give them a good backstory before I start thinking about what kind of clothes they'd be wearing. So once I had a good grasp on all that, I was like, okay, what would they be interested in? Would they try to present well? What's the kind of deal with clothing? And so I came to the conclusion that Evie, she doesn't really care at all what other people think of her. So I think that she wouldn't put much effort into her appearance. So I tried to think of something she'd wear that's very casual, but also not very fashionable, just very basic. And I came up with her wearing a t-shirt for a band she likes or something, because I don't know, that's the first thing I came up with, and this led to so many things. So first of all, I accidentally just got a bit too invested into creating a band. So I pulled up a Google Doc sheet and started planning out members of this band and the band name and the logo, and I accidentally just put too much effort into the band. Pretty much Evie is into this emo band, a Panic at the Disco type band. So they're called the Midnight Bats, and they're a band from Earth. Not in the main high plane, I guess. The main high dimension, but they're all secretly vampires. And I thought about if I made if I ever made the main high into an actual story or did something with it, there'd be a little episode where the band comes to main high because they get kidnapped. I spent way too much time thinking about this. I got way too into the creation of this fake band. But besides me getting way too invested into the creation of the band, I also accidentally just kind of made them I don't want to say a basic emo kid, but I kind of accidentally made them an emo stereotype. They're edgy, no one understands me, and really into edgy bands and all that. Mistakes were made. No, it's fine. They were complicated than that, I promise. As stated earlier, my fourth goal was to really change up the color palette. I wanted it to still be focused around pink. For some reason, a lot of my characters, their color is centralized on red or pink. These first three were just accidentally all red and pink characters. Whoops. But it made their thing a bit different than the pink of Avenir. It's a much more purpley pink, and then I made the rest of it very dark. And overall, I like the colors a lot better now. I use barely any colors. It was such a small color palette. I kept reusing the same ones, but I really like how it turned out. As always, at the end of the video, I put their design to use. I like test it out and make a final drawing. So for most of them, I kind of want to like show off, you know, their magic abilities or something, or like communicate parts of their backstories or interests and stuff. So like Avnir was flying around on a star, but for Evie, I didn't know how I would be able to incorporate their power into it, so I didn't. I just made them holding a case for a bass guitar. Cause you know, when you got an edgy kid that is into music, you always give them a bass. This is how it goes. One problem I had a lot of times with my characters is they had like personalities and backstories, but I didn't really give them interests and hobbies and like things they liked. They never were really people. They weren't that complicated. If anything, Evie isn't my first real complicated character who's not one-dimensional. She's still not quite the most complex character. She is a lot of overdone tropes combined into one. Just giving her like an interest in music, an interest in a specific band and things like that. It makes me enjoy her character a lot more. I want to make sure I do this with my other characters more. Evie was never one of my favorite characters, not gonna lie. She's rarely ever drawn. I mean, I loved her, but I mostly loved her for the romance plot. Because, like, they have this weird love triangle. Not even a love triangle. You know how I've said that, like, you can separate my characters into different groups? They are like the glue between most of them, just via romance mostly. Because, you know, I'm really into romance in stories and stuff. And so even when I was making all my characters, I kind of like pair them all up. So there's like 3 characters into them. Yeah, I'll probably talk about more as those characters come out, but why Evie? I don't know. Everyone just thinks they're cool, even though they're just sad. That's all my characters though. Everyone thinks they're cool, but really they're just sad. Because I can't have happy characters. What's the fun in that? Anyway, kind of got off topic, geez. But this final drawing, I didn't really have many ideas I could come up with because I didn't know how to really demonstrate their power in a single drawing or tie in anything too much. So just kind of made them looking kind of angry. This isn't that great of a drawing. I always say I don't have motivation and I'm kind of burnt out. I'm just always burnt out. Anyway, if you've liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe and follow all my social media. I want to do more stuff with social media in the future, but I need more people on there. Also, make sure you stay updated on the series. There are still 9 more characters left to go. It's a big cast of characters, and there are some fun ones, so you don't want to miss out on them. And there will be even more embarrassing stories about where my characters came from and how they've evolved over time. I don't think any of them are as bad as flippin' Avenir's start. There are some fun stories that'll come up. So yeah, just make sure you check those out, and I will see you all in the next video.